Hi there, welcome back to the Legacy Tax Hub. I'm Eunice Migui, the girl who's here teaching you guys about taxes, even though I know it's not your favorite topic, but we're going to talk about them because taxes are a part of our lives. And today I want to talk to you guys about mindset and how we think about things. You find that how you perceive things affects how you feel about them, and this tends to cut across everything. Basically, everything really focuses on your mind and how you think about things. Today, if you decide you're not feeling well and you convince your mind you're not feeling well, you're going to not feel well. And equivalently on the positive side, if you focus on positive things, then that will have a positive outlook on your life as well. So I know you might be wondering why I'm talking about mindset, but I'm getting to it. We're about to have a very big change in our payroll, in our expenses, either from a business owner side or from an employee side, because of the new NSSF rates that are just about to come in place at the end of this month and towards the calculation of February's payroll. And that's going to affect most of us a bit negatively. But then again, remember what I said about perception? It's about how you look at it. So the thing is, the NSSF rates are going higher from the amounts that they've previously have been. And what that means is ideally you're going to take home a lesser amount as an employee. And as an employer, you're going to pay more in terms of your payroll expenses. Contrary to what most people believe, or rather even let me say, most of us, though of course I'm not part of this space because I know what NSSF is, but contrary to what most of you believe, NSSF is not actually a tax deduction. Tax is pay and VAT amongst other things, but because today I'm specifically talking about tax related to employees and payroll, then I'm going to just stick to tax is pay. NSSF is a contribution to your pension. So basically NSSF is you're saving for your future. You know, when you think about it from that angle, as opposed to thinking about tax or it being a tax that you're being deducted again and you don't know where it's going to, then I think you might have a different perspective of it. So NSSF is a pension contribution, and it's not your normal savings, because again, you'll get it after you retire, which maybe the government can consider having a different age limit with regards to retiring, because things are not working the same way they used to. Not everyone is retiring at 55 and 60 anymore. People are now retiring earlier at 40, at 45, some even at 35, depending on what you've been doing with your life. But that's a side note altogether. So NSSF, and why I want you to really change your perspective of it from being a tax and think of it for what it actually is, a savings account. Savings are good for you. In your day-to-day lives, you need to be creating savings. You need to be putting away some money for you for one reason or another. So the only thing why people tend to feel like NSSF is something different is because, unlike a saving which you intentionally make a decision to put this money aside, NSSF is not optional. It's part of what is called the statutory obligations. So unlike, let's say today, if I want to save, I get my salary and then I decide a chunk of amount that I'm going to save. So with NSSF, there's no option. And maybe that's why most of you tend to feel like it's a tax, because it's like, it's a must. But imagine someone is forcing you to set aside money for yourself, for your future. I honestly don't feel like that's a bad thing, but maybe that's just me. But before you decide that's just me, imagine you're not just putting money aside, or someone is not just putting money aside for you in a certain account. Your employer is matching every single amount that you're saving. So if today you're being deducted in NSSF 1,000 shillings, your employer is matching your 1,000. I honestly wish there was another platform where I'm saving money and someone else is matching for no reason at all, simply because I'm earning. That honestly is a really good thing. So yes, NSSF, no tax, pension contribution for your future. It's just about taking care of you, such that when you get to that point where you don't have a job anymore, you don't have a consistent source of income anymore, there is something that will take care of you. I've had several people are like, oh, but it's the government, maybe that money will not be there, or something of the sort, or people have trouble getting it. What you need to do now and every single day of your life, you need to have some level of accountability to everything that's going on. So if it's that NSSF amount, when you get your pay slip and you see your employer deducted X amount, you need to do your due diligence and ensure that that amount actually gets paid. Because one of the things you'll find is why people have issues, or when it's time to claim, they go and find that they don't have the money anymore, or the money is not there, is because either one, the employer was not remitting that amount, or maybe there was just something and all the amounts did not get remitted. So it's up to you to honestly have that responsibility with regards to your money. When it's all said and done, it's your money, it's your future. So that aside, we are clear, we are together. NSSF is a saving for you, and it's not just a normal saving. Someone is matching. Now imagine you're being deducted 4,320 every month. Your employer is matching that. Every single amount you're deducted, your employer is matching that, and they're not deducting you that extra amount. So it's double. We all like double stuff, right? Double is a good thing. So if you were to get 100K, you get 200K. If you were to get 500,000 at the end of your employment term, you're getting $1 million. Like seriously, that's an awesome thing. Number one, savings account matched. Number two, this amount of NSSF that's deducted, it's not just an amount gone. It actually goes back to help reduce your tax liability. It's not just money gone. Or let's say today, if you're saving normally, if I'm sending 10,000 to a SACCO, that amount is not going to reduce my tax liability. That amount is just money I'm putting in a savings account. It's a sacrifice I'm making for the better of my future. But with NSSF, for every single amount that you're deducted, it goes to reduce your tax liability. And who doesn't like the idea of paying less tax? Like we all do. Like if we can find more ways to have us paying less taxes, the better. And NSSF presents that opportunity. So every single amount you're deducted, if today from your NSSF amount is 1,500, let's say you are earning 50,000, your tax isn't going to be calculated on 50,000. It will be deducted on 50,000 less the NSSF. So it's a savings, number one. Number two, it's going to reduce your tax liability. We're good on that. We're clear. Haya, tuendelee. So what am I talking about when I'm telling you that the rates are going to change? And please stick with me. I hope this is not too much jargon, but at times we have to sit through the not nice part, but it's all for our good. So I'm going to go into a bit of calculation because it's honestly necessary. It's part of life. So NSSF rates are about to change. They've been changing for a while, I know, but again, it's just part of being adults, it's part of growing up, it's part of the system. In the past, NSSF rate used to be 200 shillings. This would be from your salary, you'd just be deducted 200, and then your employer would match 200. And I think someone is honestly sat and was like, no, that makes no sense. It makes no sense for someone to work so many years, 30 years, 40 years or something of the sort, and then you go and take home like 100K or 150. That honestly wasn't reasonable. So they introduced this thing that's called now Tier 1 and Tier 2. So Tier 1 and Tier 2 has had several implementation phases because they just can't go from 0 to 100 like super fast. So it's been getting implemented in bits, and that is why most of us are feeling like we're just being deducted more every single day. But in actual sense, the changes in NSSF have been something that have been there for a while. It's just that it's getting implemented over the last 2 years or so. So it used to be 200, and then there was an option of going Tier 1 and 2. Most people just used to stick with the 200 one because it was like less money being deducted. But in actual sense, it was less money being saved. I think you can tell I'm very persistent on this saving thing, but it's because it's for your own good. So we have Tier 1 and Tier 2. So basically what this means is tier 1 is a lower amount, ideally hence the 1, and tier 2 is a higher amount. So tier 1 currently is calculated on 7,000, and then tier 2 is capped at an amount of 36,000. So currently with calculation of NSSF, you can be charged more than 36,000. So NSSF is calculated at 16%, at 6%, not 16, at 6%. Like you see the way I'm always just thinking about VAT, I'm telling you 16%. NSSF is calculated on 6% of your gross pay, but it's not your total gross pay, it's capped. Capped meaning it can't be calculated on more than a certain amount. So currently NSSF is capped at 36,000. So this means tier 1 will be calculated on 7,000. Then tier 2 will be calculated on the difference between 7,000 and 36,000. That's why you will notice your NSSF amount for the last year has been 2160. 2160 is simply the amount of tier 1, which is 6% of 7,000, which tends to be 420, and then the 6% of tier 2, which is the difference in, sorry, let me get this so that you guys can see I'm doing this with you manually. So it becomes tier 2 calculation is 36,000 minus 7,000, since tier 1 was already calculated, so it's not double, and then that becomes 29,000. That is calculated at 6%, which becomes 1740. So ideally currently the maximum of tier 1 and 2 is 420 and 1740, which adds up to 2160, and hence why you've been saying your calculation has been 2160, which your employer matches, and it becomes 4320. So for every single amount that you're deducted, your employer matches. It's currently capped at 36,000, but this is where the change is coming in. NSSF cap amount is about to go to 72,000. That's the gross. The total will be 72,000, and the lower limit, or rather tier 1, is increasing from 7,000 to 8,000. So if you've been earning more than 72,000, you're definitely going to see a change in your NSSF, your payslip. Like your NSSF amount is going to go higher because it was originally capped at 36,000. So you couldn't be you couldn't contribute more than 36,000. But now the moment it moves from 36 to 72, it means you're going to contribute more. Ideally, it will be the double amount, which will go from 2160 to 4320. But remember, the 4320 now is the amount that's going back to reduce your tax liability. So originally, your tax was being reduced by 2160. Now it's being reduced by 4320. Kinda a lose, but kinda a win as well. You're saving more, your tax is also reducing. We're good till there? Yeah. So for people who are earning below 72, and let's say someone who was earning below 36,000, the change will be quite small, because again, most people who get affected are on the higher amounts. But one of the reasons behind the cap is also to try and have some uniformity, which means if your amount is above 72,000, you don't have to worry that now you'll be paying, let's say you earn 200,000, you don't have to worry that now your salary will take a cut with 6% of 200,000. So the cap is a good thing on the employee side. Just a slight change. It's not a big change, it's a slight change, because you see, if the amount was just poop, you're losing the new 6%, it will be one thing. But you're being deducted more But this more, one, going to your savings account, being matched, so double savings, and this more is going to reduce your tax liability. We are clear up to that point? Okay, good. So on the employer side, which is what a lot of people never think about, for everything that's changing in terms of taxes, the employer expenses are going higher because the employer has to match everything. So for you, the employer, or for me, I personally feel both because I'm an employee of my business and I'm the business owner. So I feel this, and I'm here telling you guys we're going to be okay. So you can be sure we're going to be okay because I'm explaining it from both ends. The thing that we need to do as employers is you now need to plan your cash flow and know that your payroll expenses are going to go slightly higher. But when you think about it, you're doing something nice for your employees, and your employees keep your business running. So it's okay. We're just helping them save for their future. I've seen this a lot, and some people might be mad at me, but I honestly don't like at times when I see online and you see the propaganda, or rather the misinformation being given out. And I know we are going to see a lot of it come next month, where there'll be headlines like, oh, taxpayers are now taking home less because the taxes have gone higher, or something of the sort. I remember seeing last year, and one of it was reading like, taxpayers are now taking home less than 50% of their salary. And I'm like, what? Can someone make sense of this? Because honestly, it makes no sense. So again, why I'm telling you this, I want to bring you back to the point where I said NSSF is not a tax. Do you know that in actual sense, tax doesn't go higher than 35%? Just tax. The highest amount of tax deducted for anyone is 35%. Tax has brackets, starts at 10%, 25%, 30%, 32%, 35%. But no one, absolutely no one, gets taxed more than 35%. Even if you're earning $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, you don't get taxed more than 35%. So even with this change, in NSSF, your tax rate is not going to go higher. Your tax rate still maintains the highest rate of tax is 35%. But this is how some people will try to explain to you. You're being deducted, pay at a maximum. But how many people are actually getting the 35%? Very few. But let's even say we're talking about the people in the super high tax brackets. So if you're earning $1 million today or more, your tax bracket now, the maximum, you still get the 10%, 20%, but your maximum amount is taxed at 35%. You'll get, so this is how they tell you that you're taking home less pay, 35%. Then they say you're being taxed, again, NHIF or rather shift now, 2.75%. But is it a tax? It's really not. You're making a contribution to your health. And we can talk about the politics of it. It's not working, it's not. But in actual sense, there are people who actually get so much help from this. So, shift, not a tax. But you know what? Let's see how people want to tell you. That 5%, 2.75%. So now you're at what? That's 7.5%. And then they go to, housing levy. So housing levy is what? 1.5%. So now we are at 38. Yes. Aki Poleni, I don't always think about the math clearly, but you're with me. We had 35, we had 2.75, and then we have 1.5. Let's say at a round figure, we are now at 39%, according to this calculation of the higher tax. And then they say, NSSF, 6%. But in actual sense, you're just contributing 6%. Your employer is matching the other 6%. And then they do that nice math, and they're like, we're at 45% now. And they're like, wow, Kenyans, you're now being deducted 45% of your tax pay, of your gross pay. Really? Really? No, we need to stop that, honestly. In your entire amount, tax is only 35%. The rest of it, most of it is for your own good. I say most of it because housing levy, that 1.5%, even personally, But you know what? We can't win them all. So I want you to focus on a few things today. 1, NSSF is something good for you. You're saving. Someone is topping up your money. You get more money at the end of the year. 2, rather at the end of your retirement time. People retire, at the end of retirement time. 2, SHIF. Again, contribution. All these deductions, they go to reduce your tax liability. Hence why I'm telling you, the summation is wrong. Because if today you're earning $1 million, you won't be taxed 45%. You'll be taxed your 35%, but you won't be 35% on $1 million. It's going to be $1 million minus your NSSF amount, minus your SHIF amount, minus your housing levy amount. So all these things, as much as they seem like they're just being deducted, they're actually going to reduce your tax liability. So it's not a win-lose or a lose-lose situation. Their contributions, I'm sticking with NSSF and SHIF. They're good for you. They help you in one way or another, whether you use private insurance or not. NSSF will help you, or SHIF will help you somewhere with your medical expenses. And so, take away from today, from this episode, NSSF is good for you. NSSF is not a tax. Someone is just forcing you to save for your future, saving for you, putting money aside for you. NSSF is for your good. But be vigilant. Make sure your employer actually makes the contributions, actually makes the payment, so that when it's that time where you need to pull out that money, it's actually there and it will help you at the time. Bye.